And now for something completely different. I'm John Cleese, here with the WXC Batman Civil Theta Alpha Centauri exclamation point asterisk multiplied by the square root of 47, all divided by 2, local news.
And I'm Nabertha. Today we're covering Caesar's campaign throughout Gaul, along with the not-so-animated Ben Stein as our field reporter.
As you know, Caesar has sent Servius Galba with the 12th Legion and part of the cavalry to fight off the Numidites, the Vergati, and the Sudi, where Galba successfully won.
To keep the peace, Galba gave half of the village to the Gauls and kept the other half for 2 cohorts. However, the Gauls believed that Caesar's army decided to take the Alps for themselves and attacked.
Now to Ben Stein, at the scene where the first battle took place.
Here Galba had discovered that the camp did not have enough corn, summoned a council where they had learned the passes were blocked. Some believed that they should have made a sally and leave by the way that they had come. Instead, however, they decided to defend the camp. Not long after, the Gauls had attacked the camp, but Caesar's men were heavily outnumbered. After 6 hours of fighting, Gaius Volusenus, excuse my pronunciation, rallied the men, and they were victorious.
Caesar, thinking that it was a time of peace, wished to go to Lysirium to learn of those countries. Suddenly, however, Gaul began a war, thus cancelling his trip to see the greatest show on earth.
Publius Crassus was in charge of the 7th Legion in the Andes, where there was a scarcity of corn. He sent his officers and military tribunes to neighboring countries for the purpose of getting corn. More on the lack of popcorn later, though.
Veneti led the revolt with Silius and Valanius. All the states thought they should recover their hostages. All the seacoast soon joined the revolt and sent a message to Crassus. If he wished to receive back his officers, let him send back their hostages. Later there was another message, asking for small delicious candies and a shrubbery.
I just learned that Ben Stein has an exclusive interview with the Grand Man Caesar himself.
Thanks, Norbert. Today I'll be interviewing Caesar. What did you do when you discovered the tribes were revolting?
Ubeo navis ad extruo on flumen law.
So what did you think? The tribes overthrowing your ambassadors into jail and underestimating your naval and land power was a mistake.
Sic definite error partem eos.
What military procedures did you take against the tribes?
Mus legatus ad flamen, ad visitare et Belgians ut repue magnus Germans, ubeo crucis udir aquitana, et cavarle ut magnus patria.
Great stuff, Caesar. Thank you for your precious time. And now back to you, John and Norbert.
Thank you, Ben Stein. Now the enemy had an advantage with their navy because it was built to withstand heavier storms in shallow waters. The only advantage was that our ships were faster and way, way cooler.
Now to Ben Stein to give us more on what's floating. Ben?
Yes, the ships were built exceedingly well in order to combat the strong storms in their waters. For example, the keels of their ships were much flatter, resulting in much smoother maneuvers through shallow waters. Caesar decided to wait for his fleet to come, realizing the amount of labor required to conjure all of the towns. With about 200 ships with the enemy, Caesar knew that he could not do as much damage to their superior ships. Caesar, however, was successful, able to take down the Gallic vessels by means of sail and mass destruction. The enemy, now vulnerable, they could not move from their place due to their vessels being turned into the quarter in which the wind blew.
Thanks, Ben, for such an informative piece.
In the meanwhile, Quintus Tiberius Sabinus arrived in Uli, where Virdox, also known as King V-Man, ruled.
The tribes Alerci and the Saxavi had slain their senate because they would not consent to go to war and join forces with King V-Man. Sabinus refused to fight King V-Man's army until Caesar arrived because Sabinus believed that the general ought not to engage in battle while the chief commander was absent.
Ben, can you give us more information while I eat some candies?
As well as we've heard from John and Norbert, Sabinus' cowardice has been shown to the Gauls. Sabinus' delay had actually provoked the Gauls' actions to moving into the Roman camp.
At Cantunus, the chief commander, whose name is way too long and funky, with 600 of his devoted followers, made a sally and attacked Crassus's troops. However, Crassus managed to drive them back into town.
Breaking news! Crassus has just left the council where they decided to fight with the Volcates and the Taricates.
Getting now that Crassus has divided his forces into, a double line. The Gauls originally planned to cut off the provisions of the Romans, and should the Romans attack them. However, they instead just kept up to the camp. Crassus remarks that because of this, the Roman soldiers are now eager to fight, and after encouraging his men, marches to the camp of the Gauls.
Crassus has just discovered that the Dukeman Gate wasn't as fortified as the rest of the gate, and is now approaching it. Crassus sent in 4 cohorts as a distraction to demolish the Dukeman Gate. This gave Roman soldiers more hope.
They began to fight more vigorously. The enemy, now surrounded on all sides, began to despair, and made attempts to cast themselves down over the ramparts, seeking safety in flight. However, as we know, people cannot really fly.
The cavalry, pursued over the plains and leaving the Gauls with only a fourth of their numbers, returned late to camp, where I suspect they partied very, very long.
The greatest part of the party was that Antiqua has surrendered to Crassus and sent hostages.
Among those hostages were 11 tribes that take too long to name.
Caesar, thinking that the war may soon be over, leads his men. Oh look, Caesar let his guard down, and a surprise attack comes from the enemies from the woods. They rush. Not to worry. It seems as if Caesar's men have sent them back from which they came, and has killed a significant amount of enemy soldiers. However, losing a few of his own. Back to you guys.
Caesar's men, after laying waste to their entire country and burning down their villages, houses, and local brothel, are now stationed in winter quarters among the Aurili and the Euxi.
Now that is all the time we have, guys. Hope you enjoyed our special report of Caesar's campaign. Me and John Cleese are now signing off.
As the lawyers just informed me, this will be our first and last show, so good night and leave money outside my cardboard box on 3 4th Street.
And I suppose I have to go back to being a circus freak. Goodbye.